So you say it so clearly as if it's very well established that tokens like ETH and Aave or whatever these other assets are clearly not securities. But the chair of the SEC, Gary Gensler, has made some noise in the other direction, and he doesn't, I think, view these things as so clear cut. So what makes you so certain, and how would you respond to some of his statements where he seems to think that actually the vast majority of digital assets are securities?
Sure. We have a long promised paper. If you followed me on Twitter, you know. We analyzed all 259, I believe it is, appellate cases involving the Howey test since its inception, every single one of the investment contract cases. And based on that in-depth longitudinal review, I can say with confidence that there's nothing in the case law that supports the idea that an asset that's recognized as not a security should be hypothetically treated as security when it's traded between people who are not otherwise involved in the transaction. Like you and me buying assets on Gemini, or just trading amongst ourselves, or using a decentralized exchange. Moreover, we have the SEC's own words. You may be familiar, if you follow the whole Ripple saga, that a group of disgruntled XRP holders attempted to intervene in the Ripple case as defendants, which is kind of an unlikely thing. And in doing so, they filed a motion with the court in the Ripple action, and the SEC responded. And on page 24 of that response, the SEC acknowledged that the XRP token is not in itself a security. And it said, well, similar to the Gram token in Telegram, it's not a security, but it's the embodiment of an investment contract. And so I think there the SEC kind of put their cards on the table. The problem with the statement on page 24 is it doesn't have a footnote, and there's no case law support, because it's really a novel theory, and it's well within the SEC's rights to advocate for novel theories that an asset that is not a security can somehow embody a scheme, but that's not something that has been adopted.
Over the years, the SEC has brought dozens of cases, many of them during my predecessor's time. I've only been here 3 months. And yet, having brought dozens of cases, we haven't lost a case.
Now, the agency has to be willing to go into court and, take some losses from time to time.
I know many of us would like to skip to a time in the market when cryptos are actually valued on how big a problem they solve and how big their use cases are. This is when you'll see the true value of cryptocurrency platforms like Solana, Algo, ADA, and XRP. But in the meantime, we have some insider leaks about XRP. Remember I talked about the buyback plan a couple of days ago? I also spoke about Coinbase letting off some of their core staffers amid the crypto winter. Attorney John Deaton airs his confusion following the SEC's consistent irregularities in its years-long lawsuit with Ripple. He tweets, "This is inaccurate. I get why it sounds positive. It's not. This is what you call splitting legal hairs." The SEC acknowledged the Telegram court held the token itself as not a security, but is claiming XRP is the embodiment of Ripple's efforts and represents security. What's happening? What are they getting at? We'll find out shortly. For now, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and don't forget to check out the description section for some useful links. Take a look at this funny-looking infographic. At first sight, it doesn't look very good. But taking an in-depth look at it, you'll find some interesting insights and some astonishing facts about Ripple and XRP. So much exciting news about Ripple and XRP unfolding, but I think this particular piece should be more intriguing to you, at least if you've been following up on this channel for a while. So some of this content here in this image comes from this document, XRP, a dominant global digital bridge currency. A report by City Street Strategies, an outsourced investment research firm and asset management system based out of St. James Avenue in Boston, Massachusetts. According to this document that denotes XRP's prevalent dominance over other cryptocurrencies, unlike other cryptocurrencies, Ripple has the most interest adoption from central banks and other large financial entities. The main reason? On-demand liquidity for cross-border transfers and payments combined with the development of personal CBDCs. Now back to some of the more interesting facts on the lawsuit front. Attorney John Deaton and all these other legal experts confirm the inconsistencies here. The SEC had earlier acknowledged to the court during the Telegram case that the Gram token wasn't a security. Top-ranking SEC officials have continued to confirm that Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't securities. So I wonder why the commission still sustains this lawsuit, initially filed when the SEC believed XRP was a security.
Inquiry might be, can a digital asset originally sold in a securities offering later be sold in a manner that doesn't constitute the offering of a security? In cases where the digital asset represents something like an equity interest, looks a lot like an interest in an enterprise, has a financial interest in an enterprise, the answer is often going to be no. In those cases, the transaction, an initial coin offering or an ICO or the sale of a token, will not calling it that, will not take it out of the purview of the U.S. securities laws.
So this issue right here highlights an essential part of the initial complaint filed by the SEC that no one has addressed nor articulated defense. So suppose we know the primary argument is the promoter and primary driver of the value claim. What is the defense to the claim? And yes, we know that most people who bought XRP back in the day knew very little about its parent company, Ripple, but that's not a defense that the primary driver is still not Ripple. So the big question is, how do you prove any primary driver of value? The answer to this is what breaks the complaint. Everything else is a tactic to avoid the issue. Let's listen to some other speech from Director Hinman back in 2018.
Sure, Bob. These are complex facts and circumstances tests, but when we look at Bitcoin or if we look at Ether and the highly decentralized nature of the networks, we don't see a third-party promoter where applying the disclosure regime would make a lot of sense. So we're comfortable in some sort of viewing these as items that don't have to be regulated as securities. Circumstances test. But a key factor is there a third-party promoter here who knows much more about the instrument than investors might? If that's the case, that's sort of an initial indicator that we might have a securities transaction. If people are buying it for investment and for a return and looking to that party for a return, then again, that's an indicia of a security. If you have, on the other hand, a token that's just used in the network for a good or service, and that's why people are buying it, and that service is available and up and running, not under development, then you may not have a security.
It stands to reason that among the more than 19,000 cryptocurrencies currently being traded across the entire crypto market, only a couple have any significant real-world utility, yet many of them have a historically proven record of value derived solely from the belief and faith of the community backing that digital asset. At which point, companies, central banks, governments, sidechains, platforms, etc. then build to use the community. This time, XRP's liquidity and the extensive network of financial institutions around it. And lastly, looking under the hood of the underlying distributed technology network, such as Ripple and its products that use XRP to facilitate its processes, we can say that XRP is indeed an asset with many utilities, and even greater potential to grow than any payment asset on the market. With each of these products using XRP as a bridge, not only will that increase the potential of the currency's equal buy and sell positions, but it also increases the coin's dominance among its peers. These Ripple products, just like any other digital asset that pegs its growth on utility, by design do not significantly improve the price of the asset but almost act as a wash trade. However, the utility of the net trade is saving trillions at scale. This one is from attorney John Deaton on Twitter. On page 24, the SEC writes, movements claim they must intervene to convince the court that XRP is not, per se, a security. Just as quoted on this tweet by attorney John Deaton, as is necessary, but this case presents no such question. So the SEC states it's not alleging that XRP is a security per se. Seems clear, right?
Here we're looking at the new network styles which allow instant, real-time movement to the funds and visibility of those funds as well. So we would not have a situation where banks need to come back to you and say, have my funds arrived? It's 3 days later. I need to find out or find query messages moving around the network. There's nothing like that. I don't believe Ripple is going to replace SWIFT. Ripple is one of the complementary networks which is going to allow those institutions who need real time to make use of that.
And I know someone might ask, so does this mean that the price of XRP would never go up, given XRP would be used for such transactions as the United States Customs and Border Protection transactions? It makes sense, since XRP would function as a bridge currency, but how would the price go up according to its use case in banking? Or doesn't it move up at all? Well, let's just say it moves up, but by other factors. How long do the masses hold? Do others buy the XRP coin to sell it to others, such as these banking conglomerates? How often are new entrants coming into the market? Do more holders come in, other use cases, etc.? But simply initiating customs border protection transactions alone does little for price by itself, even at scale. With the current trend, with the dwindling market prices, we now know that even if you're new to crypto, we now see how, clearly, the price is affected by the number of holders. So should there be a constant flow of high payments through CBP on a 24/7 basis, it goes without saying that that would inevitably increase the on-demand liquidity ratio. So there's no way it would keep the same price, right? Considering every transaction on the XRP ledger takes approximately 3 seconds to be completed, suppose we multiply $53.5 million by 3, we get around $166 million in continuous value on the XRPL's ODL front, should all CBP transactions be performed on the XRP ledger. So if 160 million is correct, that will mean the price of XRP might not go at all based on a 15 billion market cap. These numbers may be right or wrong, as these are just predictions. However, after a bit of research, you might find that as it applies to the overall transaction volume in isolation, these numbers may be right. Imagine the influx of market makers required to process $160 million worth of transactions every 3 seconds in many different sectors.
We are advocating to think about this world of digital money as a global public good. And in a recent discussion in Zurich, where we both were, what we advocated for is to have a public platform. So when protocols are agreed, this public platform can connect different CBDCs. There can be interoperability, the same way you would transfer euros from one country to another, you do it using CBDC.
So the paths are leading to some form of a digital currency. So do you think it's coincidence that we're now at the exact same moment seeing executive orders and mandates come out, and in it there is talk of a coming Federal Reserve digital dollar?
No, it's par for the course as far as I am concerned. I mean, how far along they are, I'm not certain. I have looked into this fairly deeply. There is some talk of going on the back of, let's say, an XRP or some other currency that's out there now that's functioning well and has been basically tested, and then putting a CBDC on top of that. That certainly could be achieved, and if it were, it could.
But to go between Tanzania and Nigeria, you need somebody to bear some counterparty risk that the ledgers both move and are adjusted at the same time. And usually it's a bank that is in both countries. You could use blockchain, but the current thinking is you need a bridge currency in between, and that bridge could be a stable value that's backed by the US dollar or the euro. It could be a currency even like Ripple has an alternative. It's just piloted in May, so it's not yet up in any enterprise-wide level.
Now, over the years, the SEC has brought dozens of cases, many of them during my predecessor's time. I've only been here 3 months. And yet, having brought dozens of cases, we haven't lost a case.
Now, SEC Gary Gensler has made some noise in the other direction, and he doesn't, I think, view these things as so clear-cut. So what makes you so certain?
We have the SEC's own words. You may be familiar, if you follow the whole Ripple saga, that a group of disgruntled XRP holders attempted to intervene in the Ripple case as defendants, which is kind of an unlikely thing. And in doing so, they filed a motion. I think there the SEC kind of put their cards on the table. The problem with the statement on page 24 is it doesn't have a